Hi everyone, and thank you for attending today's presentation of philosophy and developing performance framework within 18 months whilst I've been at Doncaster Rovers. What I'll be trying to discuss with you today is my background, reasons as to why I might be influenced based on what I'm trying to do at Doncaster Rovers, and also giving a bit of an insight into the club and some of the changes and how I've had to be flexible within the last 18 months and how I've constructively tried to build my personal philosophy and the framework that I've tried to put in place at the football club. So a bit about myself, massively sport and orientated. I've got a lot of coaching badges underneath my background. I started coaching when I was 16. I've got rugby union level two, football level two, cricket level two, tennis level two. So in terms of how I've tried to work in the past, especially from having more or less a bit more of an academy background, it's really having that multi-sport skill set. And that's something that's been ongoing at the club that where I'm currently at in terms of Doncaster Rovers. I used to play professional rugby league um, for 3 years. Still continue to play semi-professionally now as work allows. Um, but a lot of that is based around ultimately work and the education that I had. I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Hull for sports coach and performance, and then lucky enough to get an internship straight off the back of my graduate degree for an MSc in sports science and strength and conditioning, whilst working at Hull City part time within their academy. So as you can see, this is my full background in terms of clubs that I've worked with from a coaching experience. I worked at Hull City firstly for postgraduate, and that was massive experience for me. It allowed me to sort of really be thrown in at a deep end. It was a 916s role. There'd never been a role like that at the club beforehand. It was going from category three academy set up to a category two setup. And there was nothing really in place before that. So everything was a bit of a clean slate, and it was forever turning and ever changing my mind as to how I worked and the needs of the athletes, how that worked within the whole grand scheme of a coaching program. And moving forward from that, that allowed me to, as well at the same time, work with other clubs within the East Yorkshire area, such as Yorkshire Jets, the Artistic Gymnastics Club, and also whilst working at Hull City, was working at other rugby league clubs, gaining experience. And also from there, before that, I was working in a PPA setting within the school environment. And that really allowed me to actually coach children and actually understand what takes to actually understand children from a range of 9 to 16s. But then ultimately from there, from gaining that experience at Hull City, is then moving on to being the lead academy sports scientist. And then in 2018, I moved over to Barnsley to be the head of academy sports science and medicine. I held that position for 2 years and then left during COVID, and then was at Wolverhampton Wanderers as their under 18 sports scientist. And then after the Wolverhampton Wanderers experience, I then moved to Doncaster Rovers Football Club as the head of performance and sports science. So I've ultimately worked all the way from within football environment, all the way from the down, all the way to the top in terms of ages. And yeah, it's quite a lot of experience from going from a Hull City category three to category two, working towards that EPP requirements, and then working at Barnsley to maintain category two EPP category status, and then working at Wolverhampton Wanderers to then stay in category one status within the academy. So a lot of that is where my philosophy is based on, really. And like you always working upon it, it's forever changing. And within my most fully skill set, it's a very varied skill set. Based on my background, I do have strength conditioning accreditation, and I'm currently doing my bases accreditation as well. And that's allowed me to really be open and honest within my programming and reflect quite a lot. Also, when you're working in a first team environment, and for me being in a League Two environment at this moment in time, everything's got to be about the team and how that helps the team to win and perform. And ultimately, from that is more or less over time now, is making sure that whatever I'm collecting has to be effective. So whether that's collecting GPS data, whether that's collecting the numbers from the gym and the S&C, and actually coaching them sessions, everything's got to be effective towards performance. And just to give you an example, as to mostly as practitioners within S&C, or whether you're a sports scientist, something that mostly we like to see. and really create a buzz off. And this video mostly did the rounds now. I can't remember how long ago it was, but I think it just shows you the teamwork, the actual desire. You can actually see the sprint intensity from the players to actually get back and also understand that creating that sort of energy environment actually creates that positivity for the team to move forward in the right direction. So more to discuss in terms of the philosophy that I've currently got in place at Doncaster Rovers. So first and foremost, everything's about exposure to competent movement patterns. So can players perform basic squat movement? Can they perform a basic knee dominant movement? Can they perform a basic hip dominant movement? Can they perform basic movements and competently as a closed chain exercise or an open chain exercise? Ultimately, it's creating a high level performance environment, making sure that the support is there for the players to make ensure that there's optimal physical potential that's achieved from the range of players. Within the picture that you can see there, we've got a player that ranges from 21 years old to a player that ranges from 38 years old. So it's then understanding what's optimal physical potential for each individual within the club and how that then ensure within a football team is to reduce the likelihood of injury within a football environment, especially at League Two. A unsuccessful season can still mean you still play 52 games a year. A successful season can mean that you play towards 60. And bear in mind for League Two, obviously this isn't the strongest players, it's not the fastest players, and it's not the most technically gifted players within that certain part of their life, and consequently as a team. So ultimately, is how you've got to make sure and educate to perform successfully, and understanding that how you try and mature your athletes into where they need to be, or whether it's how you try and maintain athletes based on where they are currently at.